Hey everyone, thank you for clicking on this video. If you're here because you've ever been betrayed by the person you loved most, or if someone in your own family looked you in the eyes and told you that you're not good enough, then pull up a chair and stay with me. This story is long, raw, emotional, and very real. I'm going to tell it slowly, honestly, with every detail, because I want you to feel what I felt. If you've ever been made to feel small, worthless, or replaceable, this one is for you. My name is Emma. This happened 5 years ago. It was a rainy Thursday evening. I had just come home from work, soaked from head to toe, carrying grocery bags because I wanted to surprise my husband, Mark, with his favorite pasta dish. We had been married for 6 years. I thought we were happy. I thought we were building a life together. The apartment smelled like the lavender candle I had lit earlier, trying to make the place feel warm and welcoming after a long day. I opened the door and heard laughter from the living room. Mark's voice, and another woman's voice. My heart started racing immediately. I quietly put the bags down on the kitchen counter and walked toward the sound, my shoes squelching on the hardwood floor. There he was, my husband, sitting on our couch with his arm around my sister-in-law Sophia, Mark's younger sister. They were laughing, drinking wine from our wedding glasses, and she had her head on his shoulder like it was the most natural thing in the world. The room felt suddenly cold, despite the candle. Sophia saw me first. Instead of pulling away, she smiled a cold, satisfied smile that I'll never forget, and said, "Oh, you're home early. Mark and I were just talking about how you're not really good enough for him. He deserves someone who actually matches his level." Mark didn't even look ashamed. He just shrugged, took a sip of wine, and said, "She's right, Emma. You've been holding me back for years. I've been seeing someone who actually understands me." That someone was Sophia, his own sister. I felt the floor disappear under my feet. I couldn't speak. I just stood there while the two people I trusted most in the world told me I was not good enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough, not exciting enough. Sophia even laughed and said, "Face it, Emma, you're average. Mark needs someone extraordinary." The room spun. I didn't scream. I didn't cry in front of them. I simply turned around, walked out, and drove to my best friend's house. That night I slept on her couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying their words over and over. The next morning, Mark sent me a text. "Don't make this dramatic. We can still be civil." Sophia sent one too. "You were never going to keep him." Anyway, that was the moment I decided I would never let them break me. The following months were the darkest of my life. I moved into a small studio apartment that smelled like old paint. I cried every single night. I lost weight because I couldn't eat. I kept thinking, how could my own sister-in-law do this to me? How could she look me in the eye and say I'm not good enough? How could my husband agree with her? Like a failure, I questioned every choice I'd ever made. Every time I supported him through his job stress, every time I stayed home while he went out with friends, every time I ignored the late nights because I trusted him. Was I really not good enough? My friends tried to help. My sister called daily from across town. But the pain was so deep, it felt like it was etched into my bones. One day, I found an old photo album in a box. Pictures of our wedding, our trips, our life together. I sat on the floor and sobbed for hours. But in that pain, something started to shift. I remembered a quote my grandmother used to say, "The best revenge is becoming someone they can never touch again." So I started small. I went to therapy. The first session, I cried the whole time. My therapist listened and said, "Their words are a reflection of them, not you. What do you want your life to look like now?" That question sparked something. I started journaling every day, writing down all the ways they were wrong. I started running in the mornings to clear my head. I took free online courses in digital marketing while sipping coffee at night. I was exhausted, but I refused to stay broken. 6 months later, I launched an Instagram page sharing honest stories about healing after betrayal. Women started following, messaging me. This is exactly what I'm going through. It gave me purpose. I turned it into a small business, creating digital planners, affirmation cards, and self-worth journals for women like me. Year 1 was survival. I worked my regular job during the day, built the business at night. Year 2 was growth. I quit the job and went full-time. Year 3 was momentum. I hired a small team. Year 4 was freedom. Revenue hit 6 figures. I bought a beautiful townhouse with a garden. I adopted a cat named Whisper, who purred me to sleep every night. I dated a little, but nothing serious, until I met Daniel at a business event. He was quiet, honest, supportive. Our first date was coffee that turned into a long walk in the rain. He never once made me feel small. We're engaged now, planning a simple wedding next summer. Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was at home editing a new course when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Something told me to answer. Emma? It was Sophia. Her voice was shaking. I need to talk to you. It's urgent. I stayed silent. She kept talking. Mark's life had completely fallen apart. He lost his job. He had been cheating on Sophia too. Their affair had turned into a toxic mess. He was drinking heavily. They were both drowning in debt. Sophia was desperate. She said, "We made a huge mistake. We need help. Please, for old time's sake." Old time's sake. The woman who called me not good enough and helped destroy my marriage was now begging for my help. I told her I'd think about it. Then I made one call, not to Mark, not to her, to my lawyer. You see, during the divorce, I had quietly kept proof of everything, not just the cheating. I had saved every cruel text, every voice note, every screenshot where Sophia and Mark mocked me behind my back. I also had financial records showing how Mark had hidden money and tried to leave me with nothing. I didn't use any of it for revenge at the time. I just wanted to move on. But now, it was time. I sent everything to my lawyer and said, "Prepare the package. We're exposing it all to the family." 2 weeks later, there was a big family gathering at Mark's parents' house. I wasn't invited, but I showed up anyway. When I walked in, the room went silent. Mark looked shocked. Sophia looked terrified. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply opened my laptop, connected it to the TV, and played the compilation. I had prepared every cruel text, every voice message where they laughed about me, every time Sophia said she's not good enough, every time Mark agreed. The entire family watched in silence. Sophia's face went completely white. She froze. Her hands started shaking. She couldn't speak. She just stood there with her mouth open, realizing that everyone now knew exactly who she was. Mark dropped to his knees in front of everyone and started crying. "Emma, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I was stupid. Please don't do this. I'm begging you." The family froze too. His parents stared in horror. His brother looked disgusted. Sophia's own mother covered her mouth in shock. I looked at both of them and said calmly, "I didn't come here to destroy you. I came here to free myself. I forgive you. It's not because you deserve it, because I deserve peace. I don't carry your words anymore. I don't carry your lies. I don't carry your shame." Then I closed the laptop, looked at the family, and said, "I hope you all find healing too." I walked out with my head high. That night, Sophia sent me a long message begging me to delete everything. Mark called crying, saying he had lost everything: his reputation, his family's respect, his peace. I didn't reply to either of them. Today, my brand is in stores across Canada. We have a team of 50 partnerships with major retailers. I run workshops for women rebuilding after betrayal, teaching them business skills, self-worth, how to turn pain into power. I'm married to Daniel. Our daughter Ella is 2 now, and Whisper still curls up with us every night. Life isn't perfect, but it's mine, built from the ashes of their words. And Mark, last I heard, he's trying to rebuild Sophia too. They're not part of my life anymore. I don't check on them. I don't need to. The most beautiful part, I didn't destroy them. I didn't need to. I just took back my truth. And when they finally saw it, they froze. Not because I screamed, not because I cursed, but because I rose so high they couldn't ignore me anymore. If this story touches you, if you've ever been called not good enough, if you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you, please hear me. Their words are not your truth. Your worth was never in their hands. Your comeback doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes the most beautiful revenge is simply living a life so full and so peaceful that when they finally see it, they freeze. You are enough. You are worthy. You are rising. Thank you for staying with me until the end. If this story touched you, please leave a comment. Tell me what you would have done. Tell me your story. I read every single one. You've got this. You're stronger than they ever gave you credit for. And you are never, ever alone.